This is the BASSO Venta. Right now, this is a £2,899 bike and it is on sale. This bike has come to us on review because we've sold one to a customer of ours. He gave us a design brief, he gave us a budget, and we went out hunting and we brought this from the UK distributor and we sold it to our customer, and he was very, very kind enough to say, I would love you to go and ride it and review it for the YouTube channel and tell everyone about it, which how many of you would allow your bike mechanic to go and review your bike before you get a chance to get the tyres dirty? So thank you for that. So yeah, that's the story, that's why we're here. I've taken it out for a ride on its stock wheels and it's currently wrapped up in its new wheels, because the exciting thing is at that sort of price point, it does open up the opportunity for that instant upgrade, which we've done. I'm going to sort of talk you through why. Putting a nice set of lightweight wheels on this bike has absolutely transformed it. And do you know what? The 105 group set is brilliant. I forget sometimes just how good it is. And when you're riding, you cannot tell the difference between this, Ultegra, possibly even Dura-Race. But the wheels, my God, have they transformed this bike. So our design brief then, first of all, this is going to a guy about 6 foot tall, heavy set, rugby player-ish type build, but also a motorcyclist and a family man and loves his road bike for that quick hour and a half, 2 hour blast in the evening where he just gets some time to himself. He just wants to go out and just get some fitness done and have some fun on his road bike. Currently rides a Cannondale Super 6 rim brake, wanted to upgrade to something with disc brakes, and it's like, what have you got? So after a bit of hunting and going through sort of geometry charts and reviews and that sort of thing, we found this. How's this for a mid-ride thought dump? Well, this is just my initial thoughts on it, and I have to say, if you like a race bike but haven't quite got the hips for an SL7 or a Super 6 or a System 6, something like that, but you still want that nippy, agile, throw it around a corner handling, this could be the bike you're looking for. You see, I know that there's a whole stack of headset spaces here, but even down on the drops, this feels like I've got so much hip mobility. It's a very glute dominant pedal position, which I love. And so far, it feels like you're on a race bike, but just significantly more comfortable. These wheels are rolling beautifully. This is like the end of the road, downhill all the way to the studio, where I'll tell you about how it descends and go into a little bit more detail. Right, let's get out of here. Now, I've taken this out for a few rides now, and it reminds me a lot of the Trekker H2 geometry, the Super 6, not the Evo version, but with significantly more room for my hips. But it still has that same handling characteristic, which is, I think, exactly what we were looking for. So the geometry of this is a little bit steeper in the seat tube here, which opens up my hips a little bit as it takes me further forwards. It's also just very marginally shorter, and the head angle is actually weirdly steeper. Now, with that steeper head angle, it does sharpen up the steering. I did suffer a little bit of toe overlap, just going through those like little tight gates that you get to at the entrance to a cycle path. Not so much to knock me off or anything, but then I do have size 11 feet and I run my cleats quite far back in my shoes. So, you know, it might be different for everyone, but I haven't experienced that on a size 56 frame for a while, but it's hardly a problem. Quite a lot of road bikes do it, but it's something to be aware of maybe. Bit of a rise coming up. Let's give it some beans, get out of the saddle. That's okay. It's not quite as lively as some, but it's pretty solid. Here we go. Right now, we've got this set up with quite a lot of headset spaces, but I think with that seat angle, our customer should be able to go lower and lower and lower on this to almost eliminate most of those headset spaces and get a more aggressive position, because the length of the head tube there doesn't necessarily need all of that. So I think this is kind of a bike which suits that sort of a rider with limited hip mobility for whatever reason, but still wants nimble race bike type handling. I think that's it. It's almost like a Cannondale Super Hips, you know, and why not? I totally get it. I think this is actually going to appeal to quite a lot of people. Can't quite get yourself into the riding position that most race bikes offer, but you still enjoy that really nimble handling of a race bike. I think this is there. It's It's not as stiff as something like a high mod Super 6 or a Pinarello Dogma. Of course it isn't, but it is not far off. In the corners, this definitely has race bike handling. Putting over the brow of the hill and getting onto the descents, put it into the big ring, build speeds quite quickly, and on a smooth road it absolutely tanks along. When the road surface gets a little bit rougher, you definitely start to notice that this is a mid-range frame, because you start to get that little bit of sort of chatter off the road that you perhaps don't get when you ride something like a Look or a Time, which just seems to be silky smooth no matter what the road surface is. And then throwing it around a corner, exactly what you expect from a race bike. You can lean in, go into the corner with a bit of speed, and it handles it exactly like you would expect from a crit bike or something, which is exactly what this customer wanted. He wanted that agile feeling. So I think we have nailed it. The wheels we did change because the wheels it comes with are naff. They are heavy. They come with a set of Continental Ultra Sport. Hubs are heavy. They'll get you around. You know, if you need a bike and just need to get it rolling and plan to upgrade your wheels later, think of it as that. Definitely recommend upgrading your wheels as soon as you possibly can, because, and this is the crazy thing, right? If you were at a bike shop and you took this for a test ride, you would be so disappointed. Because the wheels totally bring this bike alive. They take some of the weight out of the bike, they make the handling even more agile and more responsive, and it makes it into what you imagined it would be. The stock wheels really just don't do the frame any justice at all. And here's the great thing, at that price point, these are on sale now at 2,400 something quid. You can get a set of wheels in there. And in this situation, we've gone for the Reynolds, yeah, didn't see that coming, the ARX 41s. Now, I quite like Reynolds wheels, but I've always struggled to justify the price before. I mean, fairly high price for the spec that you get. But right now, they're obviously realising that, and they've got a big sale on. So we picked these wheels up for just under £1,000. That's almost half price for perspective. And they don't come with DT Swiss. They're their own brand hubs, but they are a long-standing company, and the parts in there are readily available. So I'm okay with that. The build quality is really lovely. So whoever the wheel builders are doing a cracking job. They do use aluminium nipples. This is very much a sort of a summer set of wheels for around here, and they're just a little bit narrower and a little bit less shallow than the Fast Forward, which takes some weight out of them. So yeah, I think for the money, this goes up against things like Hunt wheels or Scribe wheels or, you know, Zip 303S's, where these are hooked rim. I have to say, over those three options I just called out, when these are in that sort of price bracket, I would definitely go for the Reynolds. They're agile, they spin up quickly. Yeah, I like them. There we go. Right, back to the BASSO. And the build quality, I have to say, is pretty nice. I dropped the forks, I took the bottom bracket out, I took the brakes off, all the sort of things that you'd expect me to do. First up, some lovely paintwork, and they've even fitted a frame protector as standard, nice touch, and they've actually painted over the front mech mounts as well, which is quite nice to see. And in here, this all looks very, very clean. There's no sharp edges, it all looks nice, and they have actually bothered to face this surface and this outer surface. It does taper towards the back, but not at a place where it's going to affect the bottom bracket installation. So, good work, BASSO. When I actually unpacked the bike in its entirety, it came from BASSO, very well built. So all these little Jaguar cable protectors were all installed in the right places. The cable routing looks pretty smart. Even the bar taping has been done pretty well, to be fair, which you don't often see at all. The brake facings are all lovely and smooth. The brakes don't rub at all. Mech hanger is super solid, more frame protection. This side looks nice, and oh my God, they've actually installed the brake adapter correctly with the right washers, the right circlip, the right size bolts. That hardly ever happens. The The bottom bracket came out, it's lovely and clean in there. I put up a YouTube short about it at the time. And yeah, the headset's all nice and all the facing. So the actual sort of finishing quality is nice. The paint looks lovely. It's definitely not thin paint. It's got some good luster to it as well. It's like a matte metallic blue, which I kind of like. And yeah, it sort of ticks a lot of boxes. The frame is, I haven't weighed the entire frame, but the wall thickness feels like a mid-range bike. It definitely doesn't feel wafer thin like a Pirelli Dogma or something. It definitely does not feel as robust and bomb-proof as a Time. It feels what you'd expect it to of a carbon frame of this quality, but it has been finished. Someone's actually done some decent QC on this. Well done, you know, Basso. The seat post is proprietary. It's kind of got a crescent moon type design to it. It's got a shim in here, and you do the bolts up from the back here. As far as proprietary seat post designs go, I think it's one of the better ones that I've seen. I'm good with that. The bars and the stem are pretty much standard black aluminium. Nothing to report really. So on the whole, really, I'm very, very impressed, because for this sort of money, you don't normally find this level of finishing on a bike. And that's crazy, because it should be standard. This sort of level of finishing should be standard, but sadly it isn't. Corners get cut. So this is a bike at the budget end of the scale, but still with out of the factory high quality finishing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what else Basso has to offer. Now, if you've not really heard about Basso, I'd recommend going to check out their website and their YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is a bit weird. Whoever's doing their marketing lately has decided they all want to do like cinematographic, like shots of Italians riding bikes in the sunshine. Doesn't really tell you much about the bike, whereas some of their older videos really take you into the factory and show you how they're made. It looks like they have a typically clean European factory, really taking some pride in their work. So maybe I'll link some of those videos in the description below to sort of help you navigate through them, because they are there and they are quite fascinating to watch, but sadly in the Italian language. So yeah, this is probably the fourth or fifth time I have seen a Basso bike, but the first time I've taken one apart to the point where I can really look inside, apart from just, you know, servicing them briefly in the workshop, and have the chance to really ride them outside. And I am looking forward to seeing more from this brand in the UK, because I think they need a little bit more attention than they're getting. Okay, what do you think? If you've got any experience of Basso, please get down there in the comments and share them, because there will be people very interested to hear what you've got to say. So I called this video the Italian Mammal, and that's because if you're comfortable enough admitting that you are a middle-aged man in Lycra, this could be the bike for you. Now, to make a bit more sense of that, one way of thinking about it is we often see the middle-aged guy trying to squeeze into a set of super tight motorcycle leathers, buy a Ducati, and has images of throwing it around the bends with his knee down. In reality, probably have more fun riding a bike that's maybe just as powerful, but a little bit toned down and easier to handle. It doesn't quite require the super tight leathers. And I think this bike is the same idea. You see, it still has that sort of race bikey feel. It's just been turned down a little bit and made it a bit more manageable for those of us that don't have the hip mobility of a 25-year-old yoga teacher, the core stability of a Navy SEAL, or the bike handling skills of a pro cyclist anymore. And I think that's okay. We tend to live busier lives with families and work commitments and that sort of thing, but some of us still really enjoy a quick blast on a racy feeling road bike, and I think this bike opens that up a little bit. So I probably ruined Basso's sales of this bike by saying that, but I've said it now, what can I do? Thanks for letting me ride your new bike, John. You're gonna love it. You're probably gonna kill yourself on it because it's properly fucking fast.
Mine's better though.
Cheeky.